Africa Prime, brought to you by Jamison Select Reserve.
Efficient transport systems are the backbone of every healthy economy. Whether road, rail or port, investors look for healthy transport infrastructure when assessing a country's investment viability. Hello and welcome to Africa Prime. I'm Gautrain Management. This week, we take a closer look at Africa's transport infrastructure as we speak to the man at the helm of South Africa's latest flagship transport project, Gautrain Management Agency CEO, Merwe. Jack, a very good welcome to you. It's a great pleasure to be hosting you on this show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Gautrain.
But I've got a very, very difficult question to begin with. Is the project in trouble?
No.
It is not?
No. Well, everybody knows that we've had 2 cable thefts in a question of a week. So we are really looking at improving our security even more and addressing this at a very high level with the help of the South African Police Services, with the help of national security. So I think it's in hand.
Could this have been overseen?
Well, security people, they would give you the doomsday scenario, so they would make you spend 90% of the money on security. So there is a balance between what you spend on security and what is the economical viability of it. But once you get an incident like this, then you can in retrospect say you haven't spent enough on security.
The interesting aspect, of course, and the fodder, if you like, for cynics on Africa will say, we knew it was going to happen. This is Africa. They could never run a world-class project on the African continent and have it succeed. So when things like this happen, where the project begins, it's a flagship project, and a few days later, the project is almost on its knees again, those questions begin to come back. How much does it impact the reputation of the project itself, and how much does it make difficult you and your job?
Look, I think the reputation of the project per se, I mean, the cynics said we wouldn't be able to build it. We have built it. The cynics said we wouldn't be ready for the soccer we were.
Sure.
So I don't think on that level there's a problem. But where there is a problem is the perception of the user, the customers. The thing is that I want you to leave your car at home, buy a month ticket, jump on the train. If that's not predictable and dependable, then there's doubt in your mind, and you'll rather stick to your existing public transport. So for me, the biggest damage is done through the perception of our customers.
So what's the story that you give the people who are watching, who want to know whether the Gautrain will be there day in, day out, working seamlessly?
Yeah, look, I think it's a personal thing that you use the train, it's convenient, it's there, it runs 38 minutes or 40 minutes between Hatfield and Park. So, I mean, that's the message you have to bring. The message around external factors that have influenced the train, there we're going to address it, bring the full force of the law onto the people, hopefully catch them and bring them to justice. And I think that would send another message. But I don't think one must say it's not there. People like Eskom, Praza, Telkom, they all work in this environment where there are thieves in operation.
Yeah. So when will this train be running fully as expected, without a hitch? Give us a date, Jack.
Tomorrow. No. Well, it's actually running at the moment. So it's running, and I'm confident that we have enough people in the field to stop it from happening again. But I'm always willing to be proven wrong, but I hope not. So the train running from Rosebank through to Hatfield, it's operational, and the people can go back and use the train. Remember, there's one section that isn't open yet, the section from Rosebank to Park, and there we're looking at just addressing the amount of water that's seeping into the tunnel. And because it's an iterative process, the process is drilling holes, grouting it, going to a next section, waiting for the grout to harden, and then coming back and to see whether the water flow has been stopped. If not, there's another set of holes, so you really come back and back, so you can do it 1 or 2 or 3 times iteration. And because of that, we're saying by the end of this year, maximum. It'll take us to fix the water in the tunnel there. So by the end of this year, before Christmas, we'll open the full system and it'll run.
So before December 24, 2011, the Gautrain will be fully operational as envisaged when the bids were sent out
yes.
at the beginning.
80 kilometers, 10 stations.
Jack, there's a cost to everything. The fact that the train and the whole project is not working as initially envisaged must mean that someone is picking up the tab, because by now, according to the initial plans, the whole project must have been running smoothly. Who is picking up that tab?
What we've decided on the Gautrain is to build it as a public-private partnership. And one of the benefits of a PPP is that it's a fixed price, fixed scope, fixed risk project.
Okay.
So
what does that mean?
It means that we have a 100,000-page contract document, but in one line it says we'll do all of this for 25.2 billion rand, and that stays fixed. So that price doesn't change, the scope doesn't change, and all costs incurred is for the account of the concession company. So Bombella, as the contractor, will bear the cost.
We heard Marion Roberts crying about the project.
Yes, well, a PPP creates a special purpose vehicle company called Bombella, and they have 4 equity holders, each with 25% interest in the company, and Marion Roberts is one of those 25% equity holders. So they have to report to their shareholders what's happening to their money.
Are you going to report to us that we're also picking part of the tab?
Nothing, no.
As the public?
No, the public, it'll cost you nothing whatsoever. And that's the rules of the game. So I can't change them, and that's the beauty of having a PPP.
So here we are. It's working almost as envisaged right from the beginning. How difficult was it? Let's just go back to over the period from the time when, I think it was 2005, when the Premier said, guys, let's go for it. Everything has been signed, deal closed.
Well, you actually have to go back to June of '97. I went to Germany with the then Premier Tokyo Sekwale, and there we told the Bavarian government we had to buy a train. And that's where it started. So we've been busy with this for 14 years. In 2000, we actually had the money, and Premier Shalowa then announced the train as one of the 10 Blue IQ projects. So we started in earnest in 2000.
The Shalowa Express, it was then
Well,
done.
that's why it was called the Shalowa Express. But there's actually been 5 premiers that have been involved in the train. There's been 9 MECs involved in the train. So it's not a single person, and I think that's the strength, is that the ANC government per se took ownership of it.
But there's a common denominator, one Jack.
Yes. Well, the officials are supposed to stay longer. You know, there has to be consistency. You know, in England, the minister is called the secretary, and the DG is called the permanent secretary, which shows you the one is more permanent than the other.
Maybe that's a better.
But coming back to the question of, you know, we started it off. We had an international investors conference. Remember, you floating a contract on the international market. So the first thing is there an appetite? Is there an appetite? And what is quite strange about a PPP or a project of this size is that they look at the project risk, but they also look at the country risk. Because if you're going to invest time and money and effort into a bid that'll take you 6 years from inception until you're awarded the bid, you have to be sure that the country is stable, that the country can do it. So there's a lot of risks outside of the project which are adjudicated. We had the investors conference. We thought that we had 200 people here. In the end, we had 500 people here. We had to start showing them away. So that was the first thing. The next thing was the EIA process. We have a very complicated and a very strict environmental management system in our country. That we thought would take a year. It took us 3 years. Then to get the bids in, we went out on tender. We got 2 bids back. It was 18.5 cubic meters of documents. So it's 10 living rooms full of documents. So it took us a year to work through them. We then came to the conclusion they were too expensive. We went out on a second bid called a best and final offer. We got 87 crates back then. We still decided that the markup wasn't right. We went out on a final best and final offer. So we actually went out 3 times. We then awarded a preferred bidder and reserve bidder. It took us 14 months of negotiations. We negotiated. I kept half the lawyers in South Africa, England, France, and Canada busy, where we developed a 100,000-page document. That was quite a job signing that.
Was there a point at which it appeared like the project was dead in the water? Or when?
Lots of times, but you know, the thing is that it's a challenge that you have to get past. So we signed the document on the 27th of September 2006, the 28th of September we started working. So that's when the first, with the Premier still drove the first bulldozer to do the first one. We then ended up spending 3 million rand an hour. So we spend 30 million rand a day. The concessionaire worked on 65 sites simultaneously. We built 15 kilometers of tunnel under the most expensive real estate in Africa. We built 205 bridges, a total of 11 kilometers of bridges. We took 7 million cubic meters of material out of the tunnel, moved it to Lindro, crushed it, moved 6.75 million cubic meters of material back as building material. So it's been quite a challenge. It's
been complex. It's been expensive. During construction, did you also come to a point where the engineers must have said, surely, no, you know what, we're trying to dig through to get to Johannesburg. The ground here simply doesn't work. It can't be done. Let's pack up and go home.
No, I don't think engineer will ever do that, but there is a lot of challenges. It is quite ironic. We took all the press to Derby in London, in England, to go and collect. We built 4 trains in Derby, and we built 21 trains in South Africa. So we went to take the 4 trains. The Premier was driving this new train on the test track in Derby, and I got a telephone call from reporters in South Africa saying there's a hole in Oxford Street that the tunnel is capable.
We all remember skirting around it.
So it was really bad timing, so I had to call the Premier to one side and say, Premier, we have half the press here, the other half is in South Africa screaming what's going on. So we had the incident of the
How serious was that?
No, it wasn't serious in the sense that in front of the cutter head of the tunnel boring machine, there was a cave in. Actually, what happened is that there was a break in a main water pipe of Joburg City, and that leaked into it, and that really caused a big hole to be formed there. But we just filled it up, waited for it to dry, and a day later we were.
But that's interesting, because there was also suggestions at the time that the underground there around that area is actually not suitable. Is not. I don't know how to use the correct geological term. But there were suggestions that the ground was very unstable, and drilling just wasn't right.
Well, actually, if you build a tunnel or if you go underground, there's really 3 ways of doing it. You can build a open cut, and then build the railway line, and then put a roof on it and fill it back. So if it's a shallow tunnel, you can do that. But if it's deeper, then obviously you can't have an open cut. The other 2 options is either drill and blast or a tunnel boring machine. And in our case, the geology between Marlborough and Park Station is very varied, and what a tunnel boring machine likes is the same consistent type of rock to go through. So 11 kilometers of the tunnel was drill and blasted, but from Rosebank to Park, there's a exactly as you say, very weak material, and the water table is very shallow. So we had to employ a tunnel boring machine that could work underwater. So this tunnel boring machine is a machine that works underwater. It's called an earth pressure balanced tunnel boring machine, and that's what's used there. So it was a very fancy machine.
Jack, I'd love to say you're the man who built the Gautrain, but I have to say the man who helped to build the Gautrain. That conversation continues after the break, which we're taking now, and we'll be tracking the story of Jack and how he became to be involved with the Gautrain. Stay tuned.